What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Daughters Door, and guess what? It's time to get churching again, and you're now tuned in to the DLT Podcast Show. We having an outstanding man of God on today, and I'm going to digress real quick because I'm really excited to be interviewing him on today. The one and only for one that might have forgotten, don't know. Guess what? His name right now is Bishop Eugene Taylor. We have him right here in the building. Thank you so much, Bishop.
God bless you. God bless you. I'm so blessed to be here.
Yes, son. Now, to start this off, I want to know exactly, did you know that God was calling you to pastor, to minister, or how did that come about?
I heard it. I didn't know it. I heard it. My great-grandmother prophesied it when I was about 6 months old. I grew up in a family of a lot of prayer warriors and intercessors, and they were doing a lot of praying. You know, I always say this. I say, you know, you can be in the kitchen where people are cooking fish,
yes, sir,
and you don't have to eat any fish, but you'll leave out of the house and you'll smell like fish.
Right.
I wasn't praying. Not even a little bit, wasn't even thinking about praying.
Okay.
But what happened is I came out of there smelling like prayer. But they were able to speak words over me. My great-grandmother, she died and she left, but she spoke. She said, I see the path that the Lord has for you.
Yes, sir.
And God just brought that word into manifestation.
Wow. Walked out the kitchen smelling like fish, smelling like
hot
prayer.
Fish, hot whiting.
So everywhere you went, it was a calling that you knew it was already on you.
That I was trying to duck out, that I was not trying to fulfill, that I had no interest in it, and I made my mind up, I don't want to preach.
Wow, that's strong. Now, with that last statement, what area of ministry were you working in, or before coming to where you are today?
You know, one of the things that we must understand if we're operating in ministry is two things. We must never lose our servanthood, and we must never lose our status as a teacher. I operated wherever operating needed to be done. That was whether it was the adjutant for my pastor, whether it was the basketball coach, the youth minister, the Sunday school teacher, the person that cleaned up, whatever needed to be done.
Yes, sir.
They didn't need somebody to preach every Sunday.
Okay.
They needed somebody to take the trash out. They needed somebody to clean the toilets up. The Bible talks about David. David's going to wind up becoming the greatest king that Israel ever seen.
Yes, sir.
But before he comes on the scene, he's out in the back with the sheep, cleaning up sheep boo-boo.
Talk about it, Bishop. Talk about it.
Feeding sheep while all of the other people are on it.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes before God can elevate you, you've got to master your position as a servant.
And by you saying that, it leads into the next question, is that what are some good keys to leadership, to being a pastor, bishop, apostle? What are some good keys that you could give on today?
Is to walk close with God. It's one of the greatest things that we can understand because we have the Spirit of God on the inside of us. Most people like to talk about the God in heaven, but the Bible said the Christ in you, but God that's in you. If we connect to the God that was in us, he'll give us our instructions, he'll give us clarity. The Bible said he'll tell us the things to come. If we're really going to be effective for God, we've got to know how to hear God. And if we hear the whisperings of the Holy Ghost, he'll give us clarity for the rest of our life.
When I say you're just tearing up all of my questions because it's like you giving the answer in just And I hope everyone is catching it because it's for you, each and every one of you. It was for you, and I definitely know it was for me on just how you just break it down, which leads into my next question. What are some of the strongest points? What are some of your strongest points as a leader?
I think my strongest point as a leader is my transparency. I've never had a problem expressing my failures.
Okay.
The thing that made David so great
is
because he fell so hard. The Bible talks about he was in the cave of Adullam.
Okay.
He'd been ostracized. He had been set to the side, but God was positioning him, getting ready to walk out being the greatest king. A lot of people, if they only hear your testimony in the sanctuary, but they don't see your failures behind the scene, they feel like that I'm unworthy. I'll never be able to step into what God has in my life. But you've got to look at all of David's life. When God spoke to David's grandson, he said this. He said, your heart is not perfect as the heart of your father David. This was after David had made all those mistakes. But what God said is, your heart is perfect. God uses a man that has all these flaws and all these failures and all these faux pas to be the greatest king that Israel has ever had. To the point that he said this after David died. He said, I will not lie to my servant David. Just because of the fact that I spoke to David, I'm going to bring it to pass. So to answer your question, I think one of the greatest things it's been for me is my transparency. And your transparency, leaders can follow behind and realize this is achievable for me.
And I definitely appreciate your transparency because even today, in today's message, when you're talking about being thankful, how you were just transparent and you were at home and begin to explain more in depth of being thankful. When I tell you, I was like, salute, Bishop, because he's telling it like it is. And it's not a lot of men of God on today that tell it like it is. They tend to put a little sugar on it and just so it appeases the people's hearts. Now, before we let you go, what are some key points that you can give to the upcoming ministers on today, leaders on today? What are some points that you can give to them?
One of the biggest points that I can give to leaders, particularly to leaders that are married, to understand that it's God first and your family is second. I really have a passion for the understanding of family. I've been married to my wife for 33 years. And a lot of times what leaders do is they'll neglect their family with the mindset, I'm going to do this in church, do this in church, do this in church. But if I preach, and I preach all around the world. I preach in all kinds of countries and everything. But if I do that and my children cannot see the leadership in me, if my grandchildren can't see the leadership in me, I failed. So what I really want to say to upcoming emerging leaders, understand the importance of your family. My wife is my best friend. She's not just my wife, she's my best friend. So when I come home, she brings a certain amount of peace and serenity in the house. Then I can come out and preach and go to the churches and stuff we cover because the house is good and solid. Let me tell you this right quick. I had a guy, he came to me, he told me, he said, I feel like God is calling me into this type of ministry and that type of ministry. And he said, I feel like God's going to put me up to preach in these platforms. He said, can you give me some advice? What do you think I need to do? I said, get a job. Let's get a job for you and your wife and your family. Now watch this. He did not get offended. He moved to another state, got a job, and called me back. He said, I did exactly what you told me to do. And he's moving forward in ministry now, very strong. So
that when I say it's powerful, now you see how he breaks it down. It's just he doesn't break it down in a normal way. That's why I was so excited just to hear how he was going to break these down. Listen, Bishop, I really appreciate the time. Thank you for taking the time out to be with us on today. And please, this won't be the last time. I pray and hope because we got some more topics for us to talk about. And I really would like for you to hear how you would break those down. And I'm sure just as well as I would, Many out there will too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bishop. Listen, this is the DLT Podcast Show. You heard it best. You heard it first, man. Listen, this is the result of the Back to Revival that we've been in for some weeks now. We've been in the Back to Revival, and guess what? Don't you go anywhere, because we got another powerful pack of minister next week, Sunday. So listen, at 3 p.m. But guess what? The one right here, the one right now, Bishop Eugene Taylor, man, he is a beast. I need you to check him out on all social platforms, social media platforms. Listen, I told you when I get happy, I started talking. Listen, this is it. This is the DLT Podcast Show, and I'm going to digress, and we're going to get up out of here. So until next time, make sure, just like the bishop said, stay consistent. And when the man of God gives you a word and tells you or gives you instruction, make sure you do it. And don't be mad about it. Don't be mad about the end result if you didn't do what the man of God told you to do. It's your boy Daughter's Door, and it's time to get some more church. You're now tuned into the DLT Podcast Show. Until next time, beautiful people, we are out.